administration and development planning, he has contributed significantly to strengthening Panchayat Raj institutions and implementing development initiatives at the district and state levels. Shri Yalakegowda's career reflects a deep commitment to promoting efficient administration, participatory governance, and sustainable and rural development across the Karnataka. I'd also like to invite Shri Nilkantappa M. Kusuguru. Sir, ಮುಂದೆ ಬನ್ನಿ ಸರ್. Request Nilkantappa sir, ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಮುಂದೆ ಬನ್ನಿ. Shri Nilkantappa sir is a retired government officer who has served in government offices for nearly 23 years, and later on he has donned the role in the rural development process. He has worked as a Mandal Panchayat President and Block Congress President and Taluka Panchayat member and Taluka Panchayat President for a span of nearly 30 years. And with his vast amount of experience in this arena, he definitely contribute to our proceedings. Sir, ತಮಗೆ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಆದರದ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. We welcome you, sir. Having said this, I now request the chairperson to conduct the proceedings of this panel discussion, sir.
Honorable National President, National Working President, State Working President, and our esteemed panelists, resource persons, Sri Meenakshi Sundaram ji, Sri Yalakegowda ji, and Kusuguru ji, and our moderator, Sri Girish Dikshit ji. The subject for the second plenary session, Panchayats Acts, Policies and Rules. So I do not wish to take much time on this because we are behind schedule. I request Mr. Meenakshi Sundaram ji. Dr. Meenakshi Sundaram was Principal Secretary in Government of Karnataka Rural Development Panchayat Raj Department when the Jilla Parishad experimented under the 1985 Act, Karnataka Jilla Parishads, Taluk Panchayat Samitis, Mandal Panchayat and Naya Panchayat Act. Then it was Mr. Ramakrishna Hegde who was heading the government, and the ministry, Department of Rural Development Panchayat Raj was headed by highly committed Gandhian, late Abdul Nazir Sahab. At that time, we had very committed bureaucrats, senior bureaucrats who were committed to rural development and Panchayat Raj. And Dr. Meenakshi Sundaram was holding that important office of Principal Secretary. And I happened to be the elected President of Jilla Parishad Bangalore Rural District for 5 years. I have seen them how they function at the state level, guiding the elected functionaries in the Jilla Parishads and the Mandal Panchayat. Karnataka Jilla Parishad experiment is said to be a golden age of Panchayat Raj in not only the state, at the national level. And he was one of the instruments for the success of that. I request him to kindly make his presentation.
The respected chairman of this session, the dignitaries sitting on the dais and dignitaries sitting in front of me. As the chairperson said, we are already half an hour behind schedule, so I am not going to tax you with a huge speech. I hope to finish whatever I want to say in a matter of 10 to 12 minutes. Normally in a democracy, it is the elected representatives who decide the policies for the state. And their political party in their official manifesto tells what they want to do. Once they come to power, they decide to implement what they have said in the manifesto. At that time, the bureaucrat gets in. The bureaucrat's job is to prepare the acts and rules to implement the policies designed by the elected representatives. So when you talk about Panchayat Acts, policies and laws, essentially the ideas come from the elected representative and the form is put by the bureaucrats. And as bureaucrats, we are also lucky to tell the elected representatives, maybe that what you are saying will not work. We need to change. So that is how the debate goes between the elected representatives and the bureaucracy. Now, this is the basic principle of this session. Now, what I am going to talk to you is certain things which you may not know in the formation of the acts relating to Panchayat Raj. The first point is, as the speaker said in the morning, Gandhiji had a dream of Gram Swaraj. He was very keen that each village is independent and the Panchayat will decide the policy for that particular area. Unfortunately, in the Constituent Assembly, he could not sell this idea. Particularly, Dr. Ambedkar felt what is there in a village, it is a den of corruption and a sink of communalism. Maybe he was right. At that point of time, his fear was, if you create a Gram Panchayat, the erstwhile Jamindars will become the presidents of the Gram Panchayat and they will continue to run roughshod over the weaker sections. He was right at that point of time. So he declined to include village Panchayat as a part of the constitution. But Mahatma Gandhi was very particular that Gram Panchayat should be included in the constitution. There was a stalemate. There were people who were negotiating between the two. We Indians are very good in finding a via media. Neither we will support one group nor we will support the other group, but we will make both of them happy. That is what had happened. In the constitution making, what was the role of the Gram Panchayat? There are three particular articles which relate to Gram Panchayats in the constitution. I would like you to listen to me carefully about these three articles. First is article number 1. It says India, that is Bharat, is a union of states. It does not say it is a union of states and local governments. So local governments was not part of India under article 1. Then in the list when they prepare a list of subjects which are to be dealt with by the union, a list of subjects which are to be dealt with by the state, a list of subjects which will be handled by both, called concurrent list. The local government was put in the state list, which means the control or development of local government is in the hands of the state and not in the union government. It is neither in the union list nor in the concurrent list. It is in the state list. That was the second point. The third point is they created, after a lot of discussion, Article 40, which says, that is put in the directive principles of the state policy, the idea being that you can't go to a court and enforce it. And that particular article says the states will try to introduce panchayats, village panchayats, and endow them with such powers and authorities as may be necessary to make them function as local governments. This is a solemn assurance saying that the states will try, nothing more than that. With these three changes, the constitution got accepted. What does this mean? The union government cannot do anything relating to the panchayats. The local governments, not only panchayats, even the municipalities. That is the job of the state government. and the states will try to have proper panchayats with powers and duties so that they will function as local governments. Nothing happened after this. Then all of you know how the community development program came into being, the Balwantaraj Mehta committee, introduction of Panchayat Raj in 1959. All that stories, for want of time, I am not getting in. Maybe Mr. Yelaki Gowda can explain if there is a need. I am not getting into that story. I come straight to Constitution 73rd Amendment. I was a part of the team which prepared the final version of the amendment. It went on. As was mentioned in the morning, Rajiv Gandhi attempted 64th Amendment. We in Karnataka take pride in saying that we were responsible for this amendment. As the chairperson mentioned, we had a two-tier Panchayat Raj system in 1986. That was done by the Ramakrishna Hegde government, assisted by Sri Abdul Nasir Saab. We were performing very well. We made a huge publicity. Karnataka is doing an excellent decentralization. We are good in making that. And Rajiv Gandhi got into it. He came and visited many of our Mandal Panchayats. And then he said, when you can do it, why not we do it for the whole country? So the idea of creating a constitution amendment in the mind of Rajiv Gandhi came from Karnataka. He attempted, but as was mentioned in the morning, he could not get it through the Rajya Sabha. But we must admit, he made one contribution. That is, bringing the local government or the Panchayat Raj into the political discourse. When the elections were conducted, all the political parties without exception said, when we come to power, we will introduce Panchayat Raj. And that is, Congress party went one step further. They said within 100 days of our coming to power, we will introduce Panchayat Raj. So when Narasimha Rao became the Prime Minister, he was to do this kind of assurance in the law. Therefore, he said, let us start having an amendment. That is how I got into the picture. With my experience in Karnataka, I was asked to help in preparing the Constitution 73rd Amendment. Now, one question I must answer. See, there was a talk in the morning. There are a large number of shortcomings in Constitution Amendment. We must bring in one more amendment and we must set right all those things. But please remember, when the Constitution 73rd Amendment was discussed, it was a minority government. And there was no certainty that this amendment will get through. Narasimha Rao, being a very smart, intelligent politician, he said we will take all the parties into consideration. He referred the whole thing into the select committee, had a lot of discussions. We had to make a large number of compromises. That is the point I want to make. I went and met Narasimha Rao, who was my minister also. He was Minister for Rural Development in addition to being the Prime Minister. So I went and met him, sir, what is being proposed is something horrible. Why are you doing this? We will not have this kind of a law. Narasimha Rao looked at me and he told me, look, there are two alternatives. One alternative is, we will go through this law. We will take the majority opinion. And whatever is impossible, we will not touch. Whatever is possible, we can bend and accept. If you do that, we will be able to get through the Constitution Amendment. And then he made a statement, if the Constitution can be amended 73 times, it can be amended 150 times. One fine morning when the situation is good, we may bring another amendment to Constitution 73rd Amendment and we will fill up the gaps. So now let us get through this. That is one option. The second option is, we will make it a tough law. We will put everything, whatever you bureaucrats say, we will put it. The danger is political parties will not accept. And like Balwantaraj Mehta committee, Ashok Mehta committee report, your report also will be kept. And after the failed attempt of Rajiv Gandhi, there will be the failed attempt of Narasimha Rao. Now, what do you want to do? Of the two options, which is that you choose? We agreed with the wisdom of the man. We said, okay, let us get through this law first. And maybe at an appropriate time, we can make a change. Now, that is how we wanted the 73rd Amendment to come into being. It has come into being. Now, there is a talk about the amendment. There are some problems in having the amendment. That is what I want to say. If you want to have an effective amendment, you should amend Article 1 first. India should become a union of states and local governments. In which case, local government will get a separate responsibility. Your Schedule 11, Schedule 12, they will become their own power and responsibilities. Today, these two schedules are in the whims and fancies of the state, because state is the one which is handling the local governments. Now, if local government becomes something like a state by itself, if India is a union of state and local governments will be given these 29 subjects and they will manage. If the states want to do something on that, they will have a concurrent list between the state and the local government. Now, without that, if you do it, my problem is, I do not know whether the court will accept that. See, if the subject belongs to the state, the government of India or the union government can give general guidelines, but they cannot get into the nitty-gritties. It is the job of the state. You are interfering with the state. So it may not be acceptable to the court as constitutionally viable. But there is one other danger which I want to say. Supposing if you amend Article 1 as India, that is Bharat, is a union of states and local governments, whether it will come in the way of the basic structure concept of the Supreme Court. In some cases, the Supreme Court has said you can't amend the constitution affecting the basic structure. I presume that the court may not take the stand that by putting the local governments into Article 1, you are violating the basic structure. I do not think so, but that has got to be tested in a court of law. Ultimately, whatever the court says, that is going to be the matter. Now, this is what I want to say about the laws. There are two very good laws which maybe those of you who are interested can pick up. One is the law relating to the scheduled areas, PESA. That is extending the Panchayat extension to scheduled areas. That was a very good law. Though it may not be implemented by several states, it's a good law. Whatever we could not get in the 73rd Amendment, we put it in this particular act and we got it through. Unfortunately, there was not much of a discussion in the parliament on this particular act, so we happily got it through. The difficulty is it is there in the statute book, it is not really happening in some states. So those of you who want to have a proper good law, you can take it from PESA, that is one. The second is Karnataka's Gram Swaraj Act, which has come very recently. That also very clearly says what should be the role of the Habitation Sabha, Ward Sabha, then Gram Sabha, whose responsibility is what are the responsibilities and duties, all that. Maybe that is worth pursuing and taking it to the extent required for your states. Now, with this, I wanted to stop the acts and rules, but making use of the opportunity, I want to make one more point. People say Kerala is doing very well, Sikkim is doing very well. They also work under the same constitution. Why are we saying that we need one more constitution amendment to make the panchayats work better? Where have we gone wrong? I would strongly suggest every state should look inward and see why we are not doing it. What is lacking in getting this implemented? The second point I want to make is, as was mentioned in the morning, even in a good state like Karnataka, elections have not been conducted for the past 6 years in respect of panchayats at the taluk level and at the jilla level. How do we explain that? And when there is no elections, why nobody had gone to the court? Why no court has taken cognizance of that? Why there is no public interest litigation petition? And on top of that, why there is no people's movement saying that we want panchayats? There is somehow, somewhere we have failed. That is what I want to touch upon. It is better we should think as a state or as citizens, have we failed in our duties in having a proper Gram Panchayat and Taluk Panchayat, Jilla Panchayat system in this country? I would leave this thought with you. In my view, we will try for a constitution amendment, a better amendment, but I do not know in the current political situation whether you will be able to get a constitutional amendment through, and will it be to your advantage or disadvantage? I am not a politician, I am not making a statement on that. But that is a danger, whether it will be true. If that is not going to be true, why not we do it with the existing constitution? Why not to make a people's movement? Is Panchayat Raj a government program or is Panchayat Raj a people's movement? If you make it as a people's movement, it will survive. If you make it as a government program, it will collapse. Now, it is left to us to see how we want to handle it. Thank you very much.